Welcome to the Late Life Lesbian. In this video, I am interviewing another late life lesbian, Catherine Campbell, who is also the author of a couple different poem and poetry books on lesbian love and relationships. All right, we will go ahead and let Catherine in and start our chat. Welcome, Catherine.
Okay.
Happy to have you here. And you reached out to me, which I'm so glad that you did. I love when people reach out and share their stories and and want to connect, and created this opportunity for you to come on and chat and kind of share your story with other women because you went through this journey of realizing your sexuality later in life and coming out. And I would say you're at this point of being out on the other side and living as your authentic self. And just the more that other women can hear the success, and the freedom in this journey and process and making it through to the other side, I feel, love sharing these stories so that people get to see that it can all be okay in the end, and the peace and the freedom that comes with it. So welcome. Do you want
Thank
to
you.
share any bit about your journey, your process, how you were feeling? We chatted and I kind of read, and you shared about how, you lived a life for a very long time feeling like, something just wasn't right and you didn't know what that was. I don't know if you want to share a little bit more about that.
I guess it's interesting on reflection now because my parents always labeled me awkward. That was always the word, and I'm still called awkward in their mind. And so I grew up thinking I was awkward, and awkward really meaning black sheep, different to my other two siblings. And I always felt that too. And my parents were British, conservative British, and Catholic as well. Well, my mother was Catholic, so I used to head off to church every Sunday and do all the chants and all the rote kneeling and standing and
Yep.
repetitive chanting that one would do and doesn't really know what one is saying at the time. But yeah, I always I felt even like I don't want to use the word outcast, but I felt, while I was a loving family, I felt so different. I just felt like I didn't belong in that family. And there was something about me that they never understood. And it was something that I tried to express through poetry. And I've always written ever since, as young as I can remember. And I think for me, the poetry was a way for me to express that side of myself. But even at the time, I didn't even know what that was myself. I just knew there was something going on for me that other people couldn't see. And
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it myself. I didn't know what it was. But I had all these feelings and all these thoughts about things that sort of seemed to go outside the realm of the life that I was living and that my family was living. And as a child, I always thought there was something going on that I was being kept a secret
Mm-hmm.
from. Like there's something happening here that I'm not being told. And I don't know what that is. And I felt really left. So I got FOMO. I had really bad FOMO, thinking this somebody knows something, something's going on. And I don't know what it is, but I know something's going on. And it turns out on reflection, that's what it was. It was just something going on for me,
Mm-hmm.
and not something anybody else could have been aware of. And I used to share my poetry with mum as well, and she was never respondent to it. She was sort of always like, oh, that's nice, because I wasn't writing about positive, chirpy, happy things. I was writing about reflections and humanity and people being different,
Yeah. Yeah.
equality. And in hindsight, it was about equality and about everybody being different. And I guess that was a way of that coming through for me in my youth. But it wasn't embraced by my family. So I just kept on trucking along doing the thing that was expected of me. And I got married. But interesting, even before I got married, though, I had a sense that there was I didn't feel like I wanted to do that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I
You
knew I
feel
wanted to
more of,
have children. I
oh,
knew
so
I
I
wanted
was just going to
children.
ask, did it feel like more of that like obligation, what you were supposed to be doing? Or
It was
yeah, how
totally that. It was totally that. Yeah, I mean, I had boyfriends,
did,
and my father's homophobic.
mm-hmm.
So I grew up listening to all of his judgments and prejudices around that. So I think even if I'd had an inkling or a clue myself of that's that thing, I could put a pin in it and say this is what it is. I don't know that I would have been brave enough or bold enough to come out and say that at the time. So yeah, I did go along with it, and I married the first man that my father actually approved of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so just trying to do the right thing, I suppose, just going along with it. Social conformity, social expectation. This is what I'm doing. But I didn't fit in, and it's interesting. I did a lot of research for these books. Actually,
Yeah.
I researched poets of old, lesbian poets of old, and my favorite poets were lesbians, and I didn't know that at the time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I only know that now because of the research I've literally been doing in the last 6 months, where I've, Emily Dickinson, Virginia Woolf. There's several of them that, and some were closeted in life. Some only came
Mm-hmm.
out after they died because they had letters and things that were revealed after the fact, secret letters they were writing to their female lovers. And it's interesting because I didn't know that at the time. There was nothing in the poetry I
Yeah.
was reading that was sexual or that kind of would have indicated that to me at all. But it resonated so deeply with me, and I realized that. So it's just kind of, I realized that I've never been alone. There's always been these women. There's women as far back as time, as far back as rhyme. Um,
Mm-hmm.
these women have existed, and um, and it was difficult for them to come out, and that's why a lot of them were closed down about it. And it's only after they've died that it's come out. But I want to be one of those women in this generation that I want to share my story, and I want people to understand that it's possible. I just didn't think it would be possible. There was a time when I realized what was going on. And it was a woman I'd met actually through work, and it was more than a friendship. I would feel nervous and anxious and like really, I'm a confident person. Professionally, could speak to men and women, and I'm friends with, men and women, but this one woman in particular, I just I started to feel really anxious just seeing her, like which wouldn't happen with a friend, and I never understood it at the time. And I remember we all went to a party one night. This is probably in my mid-20s. It's probably the first time I knew, actually.
I was gonna ask like your age. How old were you when you got married?
I was 30 when I got married.
Okay. And then this kind of realization or spark was in your 20s before that, just to
Yeah,
understand the
just
timeline.
from
Okay.
my late 20s. Yeah, so
Okay.
that
All
was the
right.
first, and that
Sorry.
was the first time I sort of thought, okay, there's something going on here.
Yeah.
Because we were at a party and we were all lying together in sleeping bags on the floor, and she was lying right next to me, and all I wanted to do was just roll over and kiss her. It was just such a deep
Mm,
desire to just kiss
yeah.
her. And I kind of felt like she loved me too, but just as you don't know, right? But
Yeah.
not being in the lesbian scene or and even being confused myself about what that was. I didn't,
Hmm.
but I've never forgotten the feeling that I had, the feeling, the desire of wanting to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Um, but I let that go, and then carried on as normal. But then that continued to happen. It
Hmm.
continued to happen that even though I got married and was bringing up my children, I would meet a woman from time to time that there was something else going on. It wasn't just friendship.
Yeah.
It always started as friendship, but then there was a deeper level. There were more layers going on for me um, and I tried to understand what that was. I guess that was the brewing of it. That was my
Hmm.
starting to think there's something going on here. And then alongside of all of that, every time I had a sexual dream, it was about a woman.
I can
Every
relate.
time,
Yeah.
So that's that, right? So I'm thinking, okay. And then one day I was brave enough, this during my marriage, and a friend who I've been friends with for 30 years, and I'd never spoken about this to anybody.
Hmm.
I One night I said to her, "This I think I might actually be a lesbian. I'm attracted to women. I dream about women. I'm I don't know what to do. My children were probably about 5 and 7 at the time.
Okay.
Um, and she kissed me. This is my best friend." Which is really unexpected. We've been friends for years and years, and then we'd never talked about this. And she said, "Well, do you want to find out?" So she kissed me, and I was like, "Oh my God!" So, and that was when I knew. and that was when I
Oh,
had
okay.
my
Yeah, okay. I was gonna ask, how was that?
that was
Because yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
that was the first physical experience that I'd had, and nothing happened beyond that. But then I don't know if that's limerence, the difference between limerence and love, and
Yeah.
I think that I just fell into limerence immediately then, and I just wanted it to be more. I was like, oh wait, let's do this, let's make this happen. I want this experience. And bless her, and she's still my best friend now, 40 years later. She wouldn't go there. She just said no. It will ruin our friendship. It's just, I'm sorry I did that, but I was glad she had because it kind of it made sense to me, and it is probably what opened me. Yeah, and then just sort of plodding along. And I can remember the day in my marriage. I can remember cleaning was the thing that would distract me. I got diagnosed as clinically depressed at one point and
Yeah.
I think that's just the more you gravitate from your true self, the more that happens. And so
Mhm.
I went on to antidepressants, and I'm not that person. I'm just not. I felt like I wasn't being a good mum, and I was
Yeah.
not a good wife at all because I wasn't. I just didn't wasn't interested in anything physical or
Mhm.
sexual for a long time. And yeah, I can remember the moment sitting lying on the garage floor, scrubbing the garage floor with a toothbrush, and it was like the most rock bottom thing of the list of cleaning things that you could possibly do.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing else to do because you've cleaned everything. And I just broke down, and it was just a moment. It was like an epiphany, and I just thought, this is not my life. This is not my life.
Mhm.
Um, what am I doing? And um, within 2 or 3 weeks, I left my marriage, and I didn't talk about that being about my sexuality or anything. It was just around, I'm just so miserably unhappy. I know it's not who I am. This is not the life that I want to live.
Mhm.
And so I managed to do that fairly amicably. And then I spent a couple of years on my own, obviously with the children coming and going, but just writing, a lot of time alone, thinking and reflecting. And then I just knew. I just went one day. I thought, right, I'm ready to be with somebody else, and it's going to be a woman, and
Yeah.
that's all there is to it. And it terrified me. It was exhilarating in a kind of petrifying way, So
Yeah.
um, I actually went on a dating app, and that petrified me too. And it was, when you get on a dating app, you get the first question is like, "Are you a man or woman?" So I'm a woman, and the next question is, "Are you interested in men or women?"
Yeah.
Honestly, like I hovered over that question for like hours.
Yeah.
Even then, when I was free,
Yeah.
I was really hesitant to click the button women because of all of the social conditioning and
Yes.
expectation,
Yeah.
Catholic upbringing, and father being a homophobic, and what will my friends think, and what will my children think, and and it's so hard, and so I really, really understand how hard this is,
Mhm.
and I did click women, and I thought, well, we only get one chance at life, right? Let's just
Yeah.
if I don't try this, I'll never know. So. Um, and I met an amazing, and my first relationship with a woman I met through that website, and it just blew my mind in every single way. It was
Mhm.
it's second life. It was like I've closed the door on one life and this new life is open now. And I genuinely feel gifted that I have a second life and a
Yeah.
second chance at true happiness. I suddenly feel like I fitted.
Mhm.
Like everything I'd ever thought growing up about me being different, it was that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was that I wasn't. I did not want to conform, and I did not want to sit in those boxes that society and my parents and everybody around me expected me to fit into. And now I'm free, and
Mhm.
it takes courage. Takes a lot of courage to do that. But it's
Absolutely.
worth it. It's worth it. And I guess if I want to share a message with anybody, it's just to not ever have doubts that it's not worth it. It always will be if you can be true to yourself and authentic and actually really be brave enough to do it. yeah, you'll change your life.
I love that. I fully feel that, support that, understand that. That's, yeah, that's, it's, I've always compared it to, the saying, the truth will set you free. And I'm like, but
Mm.
it's true. It's living your truth, being your authentic self. And I'm like, and it is a freedom like nothing I can describe, and a peace and like a contentness and a happiness. So yeah,
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 yeah, and a
it's
true coming home, like that's for
mhm,
me what it's felt like. Because all of my life too, and I guess it was part of the depression and anxiety. I never was myself.
mhm.
I was always having a mask on to
Yes.
be who somebody else wanted me to be. And so now that since I came out, like the liberation that comes with that is just undescribable. And like I have no anxiety anymore, and I feel so empowered
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter who I meet or who I'm with. And I actually really don't care if anybody judges me or what they think of me anymore because I am who I am and this
Hmm.
is me. And I'm really, really proud to be that person. And once you step into it and embrace it, it's like nothing can touch you.
I love
It's
that.
such an empowering feeling.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
relate
and
to
it's
all
life
of that.
changing in that way as well as choosing to be in relationships with women. Your life
Mhm.
changes in so many other ways because you take your power back.
Yeah.
You become who you were meant to be.
I love that. That's a part that I feel like a lot of women don't understand until they finally kind of make it through, is that this isn't just about your sexuality and coming out. It's like a whole personal development, transformational journey, like becoming empowered, becoming free, taking off these masks, breaking these patterns, no longer
Mm.
being what everybody else wants you to be and just being you, and when you can do that, I feel like every aspect of your life improves because, like you said too, this strength and not caring what other people think. It's like you can show up as yourself and be you. And then when you are that person, and people want to be around you, want to be friends, want to be in a relationship, it's because they see you for you, and that's the person they like. And then people that are like,
Yeah,
not really, it's like, okay, fine, like we don't have to
yeah,
get along, but this is me, and if this isn't what you like, then that's okay. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
exactly.
it's
Yeah, and I can also appreciate women who might be anxious, especially if they've been married for a long time and if they have couple friends and that sort of thing, and perhaps religious friends or people who are homophobic.
mhm,
I can appreciate something that would hold them back would be the fear of losing those people in their lives. I didn't feel that so much with my friends because I knew my friends were I've good friends I'd had for a very, very long time, and I knew they would be accepting of me. But my family, that was a
mhm,
different story. I was terrified about what my dad would think, but I'd got to a point before I even came out that it didn't matter to me what he thought. At the end of the day, if he can't accept me for who I am, um, that's his cross to bear. It's not mine anymore. I'm done.
yeah,
And he did accept me. He did embrace it. And
mhm,
and that reminds me of the quote, where's I love Brené Brown's quote, which is, you can't hate people close up.
yeah,
You just, so, people who have had these phobias or judgments their whole lives, suddenly when it's right in front of their face and it's somebody that they love, you have a choice to make, right? You can't just suddenly say, well, I don't love you anymore.
mhm,
And so they have to make a choice. And with that, they have to reflect on their own prejudices and judgments. And I think so. I've loved that too. I've loved seeing how people have been challenged by my coming out and surprised and challenged, but it's actually made people really reflect on their own belief systems
mhm,
as well. And
yeah,
and that's another part of feeling empowered because I feel like I'm actually helping to change the mindset of other people by
mhm,
being um, leading by example,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And my son is 18 and he's just very recently come out as well. And I think, he
mhm,
said to me the other day that he said, I don't know if I would have had the courage to do that if I hadn't seen what you had done,
yeah,
And so there's a big part of, again, of my wanting to share. And the reason I'm writing about it now is because yeah, it's just the more people, the more exposure this gets, and the more we can talk about this, the better off we are. The world's changing. It's
Hmm.
not, I mean, marriages and in themselves, and certainly male female marriages, it's all going to change, in my opinion. You know, it's already starting, and 50 years from now it'd be completely different. So I feel like we're kind of the Virginia Wolves of our day, you know, just
Yeah.
making a change, even if it's in a really subtle, slight way, but it's all good, right? It's all contributing
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah,
to
it's
the
amazing.
message.
And I love what you
Yeah.
said too about your son. That was one of the biggest reasons for me, with wanting to come out and embrace who I am is, I know so many people are afraid of damaging the relationship with their children, but I was like, I want to set the example that my son should always be who he is, whether that's gay or straight or his interests or his passions or what he wants to do with his life, like whatever it is. I don't want him to ever have to feel like he can't be that, that he can't be himself. I said, and what kind of example
Yeah,
am I setting as a mom if I'm not doing the same thing, and
yeah,
so yeah, I think
exactly.
that's amazing that by you doing this, that your son, was empowered by that as well, to feel
Yeah,
comfortable in that. That's so
yeah.
awesome. So mhm.
I think for many years I had wanted to leave my marriage for a long time, regardless of my own personal sexuality or what I was thinking and feeling. Um, and I didn't because of the children. And I
Mm,
think that's why many, many women choose not to leave their marriages, because they think they are doing right by their children.
yeah,
But actually, the trigger for me, lying on the floor that day, thinking this is not my life, was what am I showing my children?
yeah,
What kind of example am I setting by them not seeing me loving their father in the way that he wants to be loved, or in the way that a loving relationship should
yeah,
be? Well, we're not setting a good example. I'm in total avoidance mode, because all I'm doing is cleaning and busying and busy, 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 and too busy to play games and do whatever they might need me to do. And what changed was actually doing this is actually the right thing for them.
yes,
Staying is the wrong thing for them. And it was that pushed me to do it, because I thought, yeah, I'm, they need to know that you just have to follow your life no matter how hard it is. You just have to do what you have to do. And they supported me right from day one, and they still do.
mhm,
And yeah, it's really, really powerful to step into your authentic life, and for
yeah,
others to see that. That is very inspiring.
mhm.
And that's a side effect I didn't expect. For me, it
Yeah,
was all about, I'm going to do this because I need to do this, and it is what it is, and I'm just going to do it. But what I hadn't expected was how much other people have been inspired by what I've done.
mhm,
And I love that. I love that. It's just a beautiful side effect of it.
mhm. Oh,
Yeah.
it is.
And
It
I
is.
guess,
It's yeah.
yeah. And that's where
So
the writing for me comes in. It was always personal. I've only ever written for myself, as a way to process my feelings, and a way to
mhm.
just, it's just like being with a friend who understands, having a pen and a paper. But I thought, after I'd written some of this stuff, I thought other people will get value from this, and this might inspire other people. And so, just going to
Yeah.
put it out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, share, yeah, it's like share your books some too and yeah, let me know. So whoever's watching, can also see yeah, what books you have and what you're doing with that. So yeah, talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, as I say, I've always written poetry. So I've got two or three poetry books that I've had already written a couple of years ago. But the ones I've just done recently, and I didn't plan them. I'm actually trying to write a non-fiction story or
Mm,
book about humanity, and about stepping out of social expectations and
yeah.
society. Like, it's a book about wake up, why are we doing what we're doing? Things needs to change, like open your eyes. And I'm excited about that project. But the poetry keeps pulling me back. And just since I had come out, I had a relationship experience. I had a breakup about 18 months ago. Um, so I've experienced great love, but I've experienced great pain too, to be honest, since I came
Yeah.
out. I've been in two serious relationships with women, and both have ended. I've left both because
Mm,
it just there was it's tricky. I'm not going to go into the dynamics of a lesbian relationships.
It's a whole other
There's
experience
so
too.
many
It is.
layers.
Yeah. It's a whole other
And so,
video. Yeah.
yeah, it's very, very different. You connect so quickly on so much more quickly because there's so much goes unspoken, right? With women, you just know stuff. You just know as a woman, you just know stuff. So there's stuff you don't even have to explain before you start. But yeah, so I'm trying to write this book on humanity, and it's like my instincts keep going, no, go, but you got to write this poetry. You've got to have some closure on the stuff that's already happened, and that's where it came from. And so I've written these two poetry books, and one is called More Than Love, and one is called More Than Pain, because I think they're life partners. I don't think you can have one without the other. It's the dichotomy of all of life, it's war and peace, and it's joy and sorrow, and there's love and pain. And I think when you buy into love, you never think you'll have to pay the deferred price of pain, but ultimately you do. Whether, even if it's when someone dies, at the end of the day, there's always pain associated with love. And so these books I've written as a pair, and I've called it something more because, I've called it More Than Love because I don't think the word love is expressive enough to explain all the varied types and feelings of love that you can have. There's so many different, and I think I've said it in my book, I love birds, and I love the sun, and I love Lady Gaga, and I love my dog, and I love you.
Yeah.
So how does it, but that doesn't tell you anything about the depths to which I love those people or the type of love. Am I romantically in love with Lady Gaga? No, but I love her. And I'm not romantically in love with my dog either, but I love him and I wouldn't want to live without him. So the concept of more than love and the poetry that I've written is my trying to express how I feel, and there are woman to woman love poems. How I can try and express that love that goes beyond I love you, because sometimes it feels like that's the pinnacle of what you can say to somebody in a relationship. Like, what more do you say after that? That would mean anything? There's so much more that you can say, and I think for me, that's where poetry comes in. And the more than pain, again, yes, it's pain, but there's so much more to that too, because from pain that's where the lessons are, that's where the wisdom comes, that's where the next time you venture into love, you take those lessons with you, and theoretically the love will be richer and more mature and more considered, because you've learned from your pain, and so that's why it's more than pain. So yes, so I've got More Than Pain here.
Oh, awesome. Yay.
Yes, I don't know if you can see that close up.
Yeah.
And I do have the other, these are my author's copies, so I've only actually got one of each at the moment, but as I said, I think the dog might have just eaten the other. But I can read a poem from More Than Pain.
Sure.
If you'd like me to do that.
Yeah.
And some of these are written in the rawness of the moment, of feeling pain, and others are written after reflection. And this one is after reflection. It's called Emotional Revolution.
Okay.
Today I cradled heartbreak. I looked her in the eye. I'm leaving you, I whispered, and urged her not to cry. She didn't want to leave me, afraid of being alone. I need the space, I told her, so love can come back home. Today I hugged forgiveness. I took her hand in mine. I've searched for you, I whispered. You found me just in time. She flooded through my bloodstream, softening my grief. Rest in me, I asked her. Your presence brings relief. Today I kissed the future, my hand upon her face. I'm free again, I told her. Release me at your grace. She gazed at me and whispered, I've always been right here. Let yourself feel love again. There's nothing more to fear.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. I love that.
So that was a more positive one. And a lot of these books, a lot of the poems in More Than Pain are about, while some of them are quite raw, yeah, some of them just are about hope and about, what comes from it and what you
Hmm.
can learn. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Where can people find your books if they want to get them?
I've self-published them at this point on
Okay.
Amazon. So yeah, if you looked Catherine Campbell More Than Something, that's a series, the More Than Something series. But yeah, one of the books is More Than Pain and one is More Than Love. So
Perfect.
yeah,
Awesome.
if you're interested to have a look, just check out Amazon.
Okay. I'll find that 'cause I think you sent me a link too, so I'll be sure I put that below this video when it's posted on YouTube as well. So then, yeah, if
Okay, that
anybody
would be great.
wants to yeah, check them out. Yeah, that was amazing. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing. Yeah, any other things that you want to share? I mean, you shared so much of your story and it was beautiful and amazing. And I know that so much of what you said, I mean, I resonate with, and I know that others will resonate with. And I love hearing, just like the goodness and the empowerment and the freedom that you've experienced after going through all of this, because um yeah, it's just such an incredible journey. And yeah,
Mm.
your advice on, if you're doubting if it'll be worth it, all of that, I think that that's beautiful and amazing, because so many women I hear, that is, what if I'm making a big mistake? What if I'm actually ruining my life? And like you said,
Yeah,
I don't know of anybody who's gone through this that has felt that way once they finally go through this process and embrace their true selves. But yeah, any
yeah.
other input, feedback, advice? The only other thing I was going to ask you about is your coming out experience, which you said, your dad was a hard one and very homophobic, but was, accepting.
Hmm.
Anything else that you have to share about your coming out experience? 'Cause I know that's a really scary part for a lot of people.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I did it very organically. I didn't, I don't. I always come back to the fact that if you're heterosexual, you don't go around telling people that you are, right? You don't sort of
mm-hmm.
stand on the rooftops and say, I'm heterosexual
Yeah.
and I only like men. I mean, and I feel the same way about whether you're a lesbian or whatever you are. I don't feel like I want to pronounce it to the whole world and say, hey, I'm now a lesbian and I now only like women, because it just feels like I'm not going to push it down people's throats. So
Yeah.
it was a very organic for me. I just quietly went on on the app, and I quietly met Nicole, who was the first woman I dated, and I just to see how that was. And I would, women who are scared, I would suggest just do that. You don't have to just come all out and then suddenly
Mm-hmm.
do it and find out that it's not for you or whatever. Just do it quietly. Take your time. It can be private.
Yeah.
You can keep it to yourself for as long as you like, and then once you're in it, in a relationship, and you know that it feels right, that's the time to then ease it out. But yeah, I didn't announce it to anyone. I just basically, with my parents, I just said I'm in a new relationship, and they
Mm-hmm.
said, oh, yeah, and I just said her name is Nicole,
Yeah.
and that was how I
Okay.
did it. It was my coming out, and there was a little bit of a silence, like, did they hear me right? And I just said, yeah, I've decided that I'm only going to have relationships with women from now on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you have to get to a place of feeling that wholeheartedly and authentically in yourself before you can have that kind of conversation, I think, with somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
My friends, same thing. It was just all very organic. It was just, I've decided I'm going to date women. But I mean, I'm lucky because my friends are mature, emotionally mature,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not just going to, that's fine. I said, oh, that's great. That's great. You do what you need, you do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And amazingly, some of my friends were like, oh, thank God you finally figured it out.
Isn't that funny how some people like can put that together, and then we're sitting here going, how come I didn't get the
Yeah,
memo? How
yes,
come
like,
nobody
yeah,
told
I wish
me?
you'd
But
told me.
yeah.
Exactly. If you'd told me 10 years ago that's how you felt, it would have saved me a lot of time.
Yeah.
But
That's so
I
funny.
have one little story is interesting
Sure.
because I work in a quite a very professional environment. I've given up work now, and I've sold my house, and I'm in a camper van driving around
No,
writing. So
yeah.
I had a massive life change in the last
That's
few
awesome.
months. Yeah, at work, my boss, I know he's quite religious, and have developed a really close friendship I was there for 5 or 6 years, and we would have one-on-one
Mm.
sessions every couple of weeks. And he often we didn't talk about work, it was more about our lives. And I got to a point where when I was dating this first woman, she lived in Auckland, which was about a 3-hour drive from where I am. And it was after COVID, so there was a lot of working from home going on. And I asked him if I could work from home in Auckland for a few days every second week. And he said, oh, yeah, that should be fine. I'll run it past the powers that be. And he said, why do you want to do that? And I said, well, I've met somebody and I'm starting it in a relationship and I'd like to spend more time with them. But I got really hung up on, it didn't even occur to me until the words were nearly out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I want to spend more time with her. And then something stopped me and I said, I can't say that. And so I just said the word them because I thought, because just in saying that is coming out, right? That's coming out.
Yeah.
Nobody in my professional world, especially him and being very religious, I thought, well, I don't know how he'll respond to that. And
Mm-hmm.
so one thing about my coming out is that I've become way more sensitive about the use of pronouns and the use how I describe my relationship with people. Um, and in the end, I did tell him. I actually told him I couldn't do it. I couldn't be so cautious every time I speak to him. Do I say he or she or
Yeah.
I think his response to me was something like, "Oh, what does he do? What does he do for a
Oh,
job?" Something like that, And this is how I've experienced.
yes. Yeah.
And so then you're in a position now where, okay, I just have to either
Go along
bullshit.
with it or correct it. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to be really, really honest now and just say it and suffer the consequence if he doesn't
Yeah.
like it. Um, and I just said, that's actually not a he, it's a she. And you know what? And he's really surprised. He just laughed. He just put threw his head back and laughed. And he said, "You know what? That's what I love about you, Catherine. You're just so open-minded and free-spirited."
Oh,
And that is so not what I expected, right? I thought he's really religious. He's
yeah.
very conservative, and I
Hmm.
was afraid to say it. And that was the response I got from him. So
Yeah.
I think that's yeah. The other piece of advice I would give too is just don't assume what other people will think or how they might judge
Hmm.
you because you might be very surprised.
Hmm. I love that. That's so true. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, yeah, thanks for sharing that too. I think that's a great and empowering story as well. Just because, yes, I know everybody is terrified. They have their own perspective and perceptions and, what they think the reactions are going to be. And I mean, I've
Yeah.
heard stories where they expect to tell somebody that they think is going to be amazing and understanding and accepting, and then they're met with it not being so much that way. And then, like what you said there, where you were almost ready for like a poor reaction and it was great and easy.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
exactly.
it's
Yeah. So
sometimes you
so I
never
think
know. Hmm.
just don't overthink it. I think if you're going to step into an authentic life, then
Yeah.
don't overthink it and just do it.
Yeah.
Say it as it comes, and it is what it is, right? And the people who don't accept you, well, you don't want them in your life anyway, do you?
Hmm.
Right? So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just why would you give your energy to people who can't be accepting of your authentic self? It's
Yes.
just, and that's a decision that I had to make alongside of this. And
Hmm.
there's a couple of people who have dropped off for me, just
Hmm.
very quietly. There's never been any big discussion about it, but they've dropped off, and I know why.
Yeah.
It's obvious why.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay. If
Yeah.
they, if they want to choose to not be in my life because I love women, so be it.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's disappointing, but that's people for you, isn't it?
Yep. I love what you said. It says more about what they're dealing with than anything
Yeah.
that you're dealing with, and yeah, I've said that all along, people that are so afraid to show this part of themselves. I'm like, but don't you want people in your life who like love you for you, and if they can't love you for you, I mean, my viewpoint is okay, then create space for more people that want to be in my life and want to support me and love me. And yeah, like if that's not going to be you, then by all means, you do not stick around because
Yeah.
I don't have space or room for that. I don't want to wear those masks and work to keep people happy when they're not happy with who I am. Like that's yeah, not okay.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
mhm.
So I think that is an important message is you have to be prepared for that
Yeah, yeah,
and prepared to be okay with that.
mm,
There's no point chasing after people who can't
yeah.
support you when you're trying to be authentic. Yeah.
And it hurt, I always say, it hurts because you hope that these people will support you and love you and be there for you. But at the same time, it opens up doors and pathways for more and better and deeper and more meaningful connections and relationships.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, I'm a big believer of the power of attraction. So I think that if you're presenting yourself in an authentic way, you'll attract those people towards you. And I've met so many people in the last 12 months traveling, that I never would have met, and and probably wouldn't have become friends with necessarily if I hadn't stepped into this authentic life of my own. It's beautiful. I just attracting these people to me that are the kind of people I always wanted to be around them. Feeling like I wasn't
Yeah.
normal when I was younger, I now feel like, yeah, well, I'm just one of them now. I'm just
Yeah.
they're like me. It's like
Yeah.
finding a family.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
so
So
true.
yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
It is. It is. Well,
Yeah.
awesome. Catherine, thank you so much for sharing all this. It was a great conversation with you, and your poetry is beautiful. And yeah, I mean, what you're doing, being you and showing up in this way and sharing, it's amazing. And I know it will help others that are struggling because everything that you've described, I mean, it's been amazing. It reiterates everything I try to also express and share because it's an incredible journey and so worth it. Scary, but so worth it in the end.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, well,
Yeah.
yes. Just a reminder, if
Thank you.
anybody, yeah, is wants to check out your books, will be a link below this video. Yeah, and then just for um my community and supports that I offer too, there's links below that if you are looking for support on your journey. So, all right, Catherine, thank you so much. And
Yeah, thank you, Emily.
you're
It was a pleasure
welcome.
to talk to you. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.